Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we retaken a journey back in time to explore the incredible life and enduring legacy of one of history's most pivotal figures, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was more than just a name in a history book. He was a husband, a father, a minister, and a visionary leader whose dream of a better world continues to inspire millions. So, how did a young man from Atlanta, Georgia, become the conscience of a nation and a global icon for peace and justice? Let's find out. Martin Luther King Jr. was born Michael King Jr. on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta. His father, a Baptist minister, changed both of their names to Martin Luther in honor of the German Protestant reformer. Growing up in the segregated South, young Martin experienced the bitter sting of racism from an early age. He was a gifted student, skipping 2 grades and entering Morehouse College at just 15. It was here, surrounded by intellectual and spiritual mentors, that he felt a calling to the ministry, seeing it as a powerful platform for social change. He went on to study at Crozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania and earned his Ph.D. from Boston University, where he met and married the talented and passionate Coretta Scott in 1954. Dr. King became the pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. He could have known that this city would soon become the epicenter of a movement that would change America. A year later, a quiet, dignified woman named Rosa Parks refused to give up her bus seat to a white passenger. Her arrest sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, a massive, coordinated protest that lasted for 381 days. The community chose the charismatic 26-year-old Dr. King as their leader. It was during this boycott that his philosophy of nonviolent civil disobedience, deeply influenced by Mahatma Gandhi, was put to the test. Despite arrests, threats, and the bombing of his home, King's resolve never wavered. His powerful speeches and unwavering commitment to nonviolence galvanized the community and captured the nation's attention. In 1956, the Supreme Court ruled that segregation on public buses was unconstitutional. It was a monumental victory. The success in Montgomery propelled Dr. King onto the national stage. In 1957, he co-founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or SCLC, an organization dedicated to harnessing the moral authority and organizing power of Black churches to conduct nonviolent protests for civil rights reform. As president of the SCLC, King traveled tirelessly across the country, giving speeches, organizing protests, and meeting with leaders. He led marches and sit-ins in places like Albany, Georgia, and Birmingham, Alabama. The Birmingham campaign in 1963 was particularly brutal. The world watched in horror as peaceful demonstrators, including children, were met with high-pressure fire hoses and police dogs. King himself was arrested and jailed. It was from his Birmingham jail cell that he penned his famous letter from a Birmingham jail, a profound and eloquent defense of his strategy of nonviolent resistance and a powerful critique of inaction. He argued that we have a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws and that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. The momentum continued to build, culminating on August 28, 1963, with the historic March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. More than 250,000 people of diverse backgrounds gathered in front of the Lincoln Memorial in a powerful display of unity. It was here, on this monumental stage, that Dr. King delivered what is perhaps the most famous speech of the 20th century. Moving from his prepared texts, he began to speak from the heart, sharing his vision for the future. "I have a dream," he declared, "that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." His words resonated across the country and around the globe, becoming a timeless anthem for the civil rights movement and for freedom struggles everywhere. The march and King's speech created immense pressure on the government to act. The following year, this pressure yielded tangible results. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was signed into law, a landmark piece of legislation that outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. It was a massive step forward, and in recognition of his incredible efforts, Dr. King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964 at age 35, becoming the youngest recipient at the time. But his work was far from over. He knew that securing the right to vote was the next crucial battle. In 1965, he and the SCLC went to Selma, Alabama, to lead a campaign for voting rights. The peaceful march from Selma to Montgomery was met with violent resistance on what became known as Bloody Sunday. Again, the televised images of brutality shocked the nation's conscience and spurred Congress to pass the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which protected African Americans' right to vote. In the later years of his life, Dr. King expanded his focus. He began to speak out more forcefully against the Vietnam War, calling it an unjust conflict that diverted precious resources from the fight against poverty at home. He launched the Poor People's Campaign, a multicultural effort to address issues of economic injustice and demand economic rights for all poor Americans. This was a radical and challenging phase of his work. He was confronting not just racial segregation, but the deeper intertwined issues of militarism, poverty, and racism, what he called the triple evils. His stance was controversial and it alienated some of his previous allies, but Dr. King remained committed to his principles of justice for all. He believed that true peace was not merely the absence of tension, but the presence of justice. In the spring of 1968, Dr. King traveled to Memphis, Tennessee, to support striking sanitation workers who were fighting for better wages and working conditions. On the evening of April 3rd, he delivered his final prophetic speech, now known as the "I've Been to the Mountaintop" address. He told the crowd, "Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain, and I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as a people, will get to the promised land the next day, on April 4th, 1968. As he stood on the balcony of his motel, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. He was just 39 years old. The world was stunned. Riots erupted in cities across the United States. But in the midst of the grief and anger, his message of nonviolence and his dream of equality lived on. Dr. King's life was a testament to the power of courage, faith, and unwavering conviction. He showed the world that one person armed with a powerful idea and a commitment to peaceful action can indeed change the world. His legacy is not just in the laws that were passed, but in the hearts and minds that were changed. It lives on in every person who stands up against injustice, who works for equality, and who believes in the power of a dream. Today, we celebrate his life and work with a national holiday, and his memory is honored with monuments and memorials. But the greatest way to honor Dr. King is to continue his work. The fight for justice, equality, and peace is not over. His dream is a call to action for each of us, a reminder that we all have a role to play in building a more just and compassionate world. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others. And do not forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next deep dive into history. We'll see you in the next video.